Good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. This is our virtual Katherine Lee Bates poetry contest. Obviously, we wish we were doing this live and in person in Falmouth, but as well we know, circumstances don't allow it. So this is going to be part of our Safer at Home series. But on the other hand, I also get to see faces that I wouldn't normally get to see. So I'm okay with this if you're okay with this. So first of all, thank you very much for joining us, everybody. If I didn't have the chance to meet you, I'm Mark Schmidt. I'm the director at the Falmouth Historical Society Museums on the Green. Today would be Katherine Lee Bates's 161st birthday. So yes, we're doing this from hopefully from a place where you're all safe and where you're okay. As well, you know, Katherine Lee Bates, the reason we do this, we honor someone who was born in Falmouth, raised in Falmouth, wrote America the Beautiful. We also want to do this to promote literacy. So this whole contest is open to adults and to school kids. And we want to thank the people who got the winning entries, because you took the time in a really crummy time of history to create some really good and fascinating original works of poetry. So my congratulations to all of you, my thanks to all of you, and hopefully you did something that could kind of raise your spirit. Some of it's thoughtful, some of it's insightful, some of it's whimsical, some of it's melancholy, some of it's really funny, and all of it's really good. So now what we're going to do is, for those that have joined us, the people that actually wrote their poems get to read their poems. Now, not everybody could join us, and so I'm going to be your if they're not here to actually read their own works of poetry, you're stuck with me being their pinch hitter, okay? So, but I want to make sure everybody gets acknowledged. I also want to thank people who normally would have been very much involved in this, but because of COVID-19, a lot of the judges were elsewhere, so we had different sets of judges, and they all came to a consensus on this. So my thanks to New Wave Printing for coming up with a booklet. My thanks to Carolyn Powers, my predecessor, for coming up with this contest. My thanks to Leonard Mealy for writing the book, Voices of the Tide, which hopefully you guys got your copy of. And my thanks especially to you for doing this. And we also have a special guest. We're going to be joined by Katherine Lee Bates halfway through the program. So I don't want to ruin the surprise, but I guess I just did. So without further ado, because people want to hear you instead of me, we've got a random order here. So our first reader today, Deborah Michaelwitz, is from Bayside, New York, and she wrote something called, and it's very apt for this time of year, Practice in the Time of Pandemic. Deborah?
Yes, thank you. Practice in the time of pandemic. Hands, like soft-shell crabs, scuttle slowly, fitfully across the keys. Fingers huff and puff and stumble over black keys turned white and white keys turned black. The brittle rhythm, the false notes, roughly sketch a Beethoven melody. The piano had dozed quietly in the corner for decades, a dethroned royal dungeoned in an enchanted castle hidden by the brambles of daily work. Slats of sunlight slid east to west and north to south. One day, time stopped, slowly, watching a rolling tsunami of warm frost and chaos. Flickering images of curtain calls, grand meals, and pied museum walls lingered a while, but not long. Nature cast a newer, more powerful spell. Under bluer skies, canals host fish, goats fill village streets, penguins parade past storefronts and through intersections, things of cinematic invention. The metamorphosis taps its foot impatiently. Awkward hands practice new discipline, accepting the tick-tock. The fingers that resisted restraint stretch, skip, trill. They taunt the tragedy that lays in wait. There's joy in tumultuous echoing chords that keep time.
Are we clapping?
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
Yes, you're allowed to
Bravo.
clap. Rosemary Dunn Moeller is from Hyannis, Massachusetts. And Rosemary's got a poem called Courage. Rosemary.
Hi. Courage. I've kept most of my cardiac cells since rocking in mom's arms to Nat King Cole's voice. Heart cells are loyal, longtime friends like you are. But the skin you first touched is shed. Blood's replaced again and again. Hair has grown long, been cut often, changed to universal white, thinned. Heart cells that jumped when you first kissed me are still here, pumping and playing along with us. Muscle cells packed with Hudson River water, went to Niger River water to know you, then were filled by Missouri River water. Our heart cells kept working, playing, raising. We've eaten from our garden and the creatures on our farm, all comings and goings like our days and months. Those heart cells that jump, pump joy into our lives as we cuddled our babies have stayed with us, unlike our children who've grown and gone on elsewhere. I listen to your heart when we fall asleep cuddled. Same heart for years and years. Same rhythm, same sound. Our hearts are as sure and solid as our love. What better trade could we have given one another than our hard-working hearts?
Thank you, Rosemary.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Our friend Audrey DePiper was in first grade when she wrote this poem, and hopefully, I'm sure you and Mom are hoping that second grade is going to start soon, and for real. So Audrey has a book called, and this is good thinking here, All About Spring. Audrey?
It is not fall, it is spring. Plants are growing, the windows are open to smell the fresh air. The grass is green, the sun is yellow. The sun shines down on all the houses in the village. The sun starts to go down. A girl goes up the new hill, and a boy goes up the new hill too. They play till dinner, then they go down the hill for dinner.
Thank you, Audrey.
Very good.
I
Excellent.
love that hill.
Christina Laurie is from Falmouth, Massachusetts, and she wrote a poem called Elegy, Without a Single Bird I Can Name. Christina.
Yes, I wrote this in memory of Vaughn, who used to work at the Woods Hole Oceanographic and moved out to Idaho. And he suddenly died and I didn't know it. So I wrote this in memory of him. Elegy, Without a Single Bird I Can Name, for Vaughn, 1941 to 2018. I've been standing before dawn near the stone wall with your name etched on my tongue, like a cardinal wing on an autumn breeze. Loss of life occurred on a certain day, a specific hour, I am told. No one was with you. How that weighs on me. Your dog curled beside you, silent, waiting, patient, yet you never patted her. There can be no folding of the bird back into its egg. Each day lingers never to return. Has there ever been anyone so inattentive as I, pretending to know the sparrow from the house wren? Yet you knew, just from the single song or description. Why can I not recall which was your favorite? Was it the cardinal? You were the first person to teach me a jellyfish, as small as a pin, as big as a house, you said. I laughed. You were the first person to show me the difference in birds, to imitate songs of different species. Alone, I watched the bike path we laughingly rode. As the water ebbs and flows in the harbor, I long for the years before, cut aside with scissors as one clips a magazine, only to find it's the wrong picture. You are gone, and I collect red feathers from the grass. You are gone, and I misname the birds. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Miguel Gomez Ibanez just finished when he was in grade 3, and he's when he wrote this poem called Spring, and he's from Woods Hole, Massachusetts. Miguel, are you here? Or I can be Miguel.
Okay.
I hear the birds chirping in the treetops. The sound of frogs croaking in the pond drifts on the wind. I taste the freshly picked herbs from my garden. The taste of the herbal tea that I just had still lingers in my mouth. A soft breeze brushes my face. I feel the grass tickling my bare feet. I see the branches of trees swaying in the wind. Birds come one after another to my bird feeder. I smell the strong scent of tulips as I walk past them. The smell of upturned dirt drifts towards me.
Great spring. Nice.
Thank you, Miguel.
Great smell of spring.
Shelby Allen's from Falmouth, Mass, and following up on spring, she wrote something called Season of Hope. Shelby.
Thank you. Hi. Season of Hope. 6 bird lengths apart, 2 robins skitter across the lawn. Legs whirring, neck bobbing, the puffed red-chest male could easily catch the brown female, but suddenly stops. So does she. Robins hear the earth shift beneath their feet. Tiny particles rub together when an unseen worm moves. If these birds ever connect, a worm's calcium will strengthen the coming eggs. The male bird cocks his head, keeps one eye skyward, one on the dirt, seeing up and down together the unknown future and what just arrived, a shiny, moist, skinny speck of sustenance poking out of the ground.
Thank you, Shelby.
Love it.
David Walsh is from Falmouth, and he wrote something called Oh, Thank You, Katherine. David.
Hi, Mark. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Katherine. She walked across our country with a song that's in all our hearts. She shared it with the rest of us, and this is how it starts. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies. I could go on, but I'd only ruin this beautiful tune because it's Katherine's song and not by this old croon. She wrote a song and gave it to you and me so all could feel the beauty only she could see. Thank you, Katherine.
And thank you, David. And speaking of Katherine and wishing her a happy birthday, I want to see if our special guest is here.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I am just not understanding all this. Like, why are you in these boxes? I don't understand. Wait, Mark, come out of there. Mark, oh, hi. Oh, hi, it's my birthday. Oh, you all look very interesting. Oh, well, thank you. Oh, Thank you for being here. So I was thinking about this pandemic. You see, because I've been around a long time. I believe Mark told you my age.
61.
I'm not sure that it's a good thing to be 161. But I will say that when I was only 6, I was involved in that typhoid fever epidemic that hit the United States. And we survived by washing our hands. Please remember to wash your hands. And then when I was 19, of course, you all know this, yellow fever ran through the United States. It came by mosquito on the slave boats. Fortunately, did not come to Falmouth, but we were all very much aware of it. Of course, later in my life, when I was much older, the Spanish flu. So masks are not uncommon to Katherine Lee. And, oh, that's right, I don't need it now. I was thinking about literacy, how important it is to use your words. Use your words. Words are so integral to getting out the angst of such a time as now. I mean, let's talk about the power of words and why we should use them. I loved what Rosemary brought me to with the hard-working hearts. Oh, how lovely is that?
Thank you.
And then young love in spring and going up the hill. Oh, where is she still? It's darling, just darling. Oh, and then visual poetry. Deborah brought us on quite a little trip. I just loved it, and I love her accent. Oh, well, the power and fun of words. They have energy. They have healing. They can bring people together or divide them. We need to respect our words. Use them with humility, gentleness, describe and sense, bring the senses to each other. I was thinking about all those wonderful tales of spring. Oh, and that beautiful story for Vaughn and the cardinals always visiting. Words sometimes get misused. It breaks my heart. I did a little research because that's who I am. And Kitty O'Mara wrote this. And people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised and made art and played. And people stayed home. This poem was attributed recently to the potato famine because Kitty O'Mara was from County Cork. But in fact, this Kitty O'Mara happens to be 12 in Minneapolis. Whatever the internet is, they got it wrong. Laura Kelly wrote, "When this is over. When this is over, may we never again take for granted a handshake with a stranger, full shelves in the store, conversations with our neighbors, a crowded theater or museum, and that Friday night out." Laura Kelly is from Chicago. Words, use them. They can be both therapy and entertainment. Don't ever lose your words. And thank you so much for once again being here for my birthday.
Happy
See
birthday.
you next year.
Happy
Birthday.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We missed the ice cream and cake.
Oh.
We do. Yes.
I know this is the low-cal version this year. Doesn't she look good? I mean, not a day over 159, I'm telling you. And she was smart enough to wear her mask. She's
And no gray hair like mine.
Thank you, Catherine. Robert Lynn is from grade 7, or he just completed grade 7. He's from East Falmouth, Mass, and he wrote a poem called Oceans. Robert here? Robert? Oh, I guess we're pinch hitting again. Okay. I always ask, don't you just love the magical ocean? It is filled with many waves, each with a different emotion. Strong waves, the Atlantic Ocean. Pacific is very large and lively and brave. These waves are always showing respect. The ocean waving hello and nodding its head. Each wave shows a different and special effect. When it hits the shore, it collapses as if it fell off its bed. But most important of all, when the storm is all over and when all the animals head back to their home, just remember, the waves will still keep pushing over because that is what the ocean calls home.
Awesome.
Thank you, Robert.
He's also written it in the form of a wave.
Yes, he did. Susan Elizabeth Clark is from T-Ticket, Mass, and she wrote something called Trash Day. Susan.
Trash day. When she woke from the stupor after weeks of waiting, the commotion of ceremony, and the oppressive clutch of relatives. When she was alone with silence, silence for which she once longed, she was overcome with the need for frenzied purging. The anger she felt when he lived slowly dissolved into silent keening, replaced with resentment that he had left. 2 plastic bags slouch at the end of the driveway, wait to be thrown into the snorting blue maw. They hold the clothes he insisted on wearing these last few years, too ragged, too soiled to donate. She wraps herself in a slightly worn flannel shirt, still infused with the scent of him, and holds one-sided arguments with the dust entombed in the polished wooden box on the mantle. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of the word slouched.
Kind of helps if I unmute myself. Betty Jameson is from Falmouth, Mass, and this one I know I have to read, and I think you'll understand why. Betty gave me a call this morning, and she was in tears, but they were good tears. And she said, I'm 84 years old. My daughter lives in Rhode Island, and for the first time since this pandemic is coming, she's coming to visit me. Now, of course, she had to pick today, so I can't read, but Mark, would you do me a favor and read my poem? I said, don't worry, I got this. So I think, I figured we would cut her some slack and let her have a visit from her daughter. So Betty wrote a poem called A Silent Moment. Betty's from Falmouth. Barnacled boulders, charred bodies that rest on shadows married to the next and the next. Gulls move without motion. Turn, drift, drop hopeful into the barely sighing diamonds glittering below. Someone far away stops hammering for a moment, perhaps to listen to nothing in hopes of something. Spring peepers serenade silence, broken only by the mournful mourn of a fairy going home. I search for a place to listen alone, to be awed by the stillness of blue, to be amazed by ancient serpentine roots, by bleached corpses of trunks resting on dampened stones of forever. A cloud pauses, drifts, and is gone. Thank you, Betty.
Yeah.
Odysseus, Odysseus, how your last name, Atreides? Is that, am I getting it right? Completed grade 9. He's at Falmouth Academy. But Odysseus is from Falmouth, and he wrote a poem called "An Ant."
Yeah, sorry, my computer isn't working, so I won't be able to do that. I'll start though. An ant. Just like how an ant on the other side of Earth, slowly inching forward, a grain of sand beneath its arms, being pushed towards its home, makes no difference on our seemingly complex, meaningful lives. Our lives will never matter to that ant. That's it.
Thank you, Odysseus. Tom Chilton's from Falmouth, and he wrote a poem called "Left Behind." Tom.
Yes, thank you. My poem, titled "Left Behind," was written from memory. Hiking and camping trips I've taken in the backcountry of Colorado, Utah, and New Mexico, where I lived for 20 years. While I am speaking, I will show you a typical image of the kind of things that I'm describing in the poem. Left behind.
Oh.
There are places in the Southwest where concepts like yesterday, today, and tomorrow seem irrelevant. Deep in the maze of canyons in eastern Utah, you can suddenly come across colorful images looking out from the surface of sheltered sandstone walls. Some greatly faded, others almost as bright as the day that they were painted. Created by ancient authors, these pictures and symbols, painted or chipped on rock walls, were the only way to document observations, beliefs, or events before letters or numbers existed in North America. There's a haunting sense that those who chose to leave their writings in such remote, rocky places believed that they would be seen only by others that chose to travel where there was no possibility of a comfortable trail. Though you might feel small or insignificant standing alone in such timeless places, they can be uplifting by reminding you that every person is part of the great tapestry of history, each of us having our own color, texture, and place in the overall design. They can also be humbling by reminding you that your finest accomplishments will be forgotten and time is measured in millennia. There's little else left behind by those ancient people. Bits of broken pottery, fragments of a woven sandal, stones shaped to have a point or a sharp edge, scattered stones where there once was a wall. They, like so many others that follow, are known to us only by what they wrote. It is a reminder that time spent weaving words into thoughts may be the most lasting thing we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Excuse me, Mark.
Mark? Yeah.
Can you please tell everyone to mute while the people are reading? David Walsh, it keeps coming up, and I think it's because he's not on mute. So when he makes a noise, so he comes up in the readings.
Okay, good call. All right, yep. Yeah, everyone mute themselves.
Sorry.
No problem. Amber Anderson's from Sagamore Beach, and she wrote a poem called "Flight of Unreality." Amber, you with us? I hope I'm doing an okay job pinch hitting. Amber's poem is called "Flight of Unreality." And I'm teetering on the edge of reality, wavering on the line. The books warp, the words blur, and my mind sees a melting eye. The pupil shifts and grows in the heat and drips into iris like oil. Then the color bleeds into white and blends until the mixture streaks down to the soil. The syrupy liquid soaks the dirt, darkening and discoloring the ground. The mud bends and molds into shape until a small bird is found. The bird made of eye and earth and insanity raises its face to the sky. It sings no song as it drowns in delusions, but still it wishes to fly. Thank you, Amber. Now, in one of the probably upsides, if there can be such a thing, of having a pandemic and having to do this virtually, is our next speaker, Penelope Duran. Finished grade 10. She's at the Willy Brandt Schule, and Penny, I think that's in Houston, or you gotta tell me where you are. But Penny wrote a poem called Sunday Shower. Penny?
Well, I've actually relocated now. I live in Germany now, and
Okay. So you're in Germany now. So you win the long distance award.
Yep. So I'll read my poem then.
Yep.
Yep. Sunday shower. Another silent, soothing Sunday morning. Delicate toes pass over icy bathroom flooring. As clumsy fingers fumble with misshapen knobs, I'm met by dazzling warm water from above. The droplets from the metal cloud blanket me. For the first time in days, I can breathe evenly, while warm water rushes over my bumpy skin, vanishing grime as holy water does sin. All at once, I'm freed from my cocoon, rising as a butterfly, rejuvenated and anew. Turbulent troubles turn to mundane mishaps, and in the artificial storm, I find peace at last.
Thank you, Penny. And thank you for joining us. Thanks for making the time. All of you, thanks for making the time.
And it's so late in Germany.
Yeah, that's
What
right.
time is it in Germany?
Oh, it's like 10:30, but I'm a night owl, so no problem.
Dream soon.
All right. Our last but not our least speaker, Elliot Sklar from Falmouth wrote a poem called Falmouth. Elliot.
Thank you for the privilege of allowing me to read this poem to you today. The poem is entitled Falmouth. Good citizens in Falmouth who provide those helping hands to residents who need them. They are all around our town. To young children and to adults, some really help a lot. To others who don't bother, give it a lot of thought. I find it better to give than maybe to receive. Take someone who just had a loss, you may help them grieve. Take a child who cannot swim to a swimming pool. There always seems to be a need in Falmouth's public schools. Or check out the Falmouth Hospital. Sometimes they may speak up. They seem to always have the need in the summertime. So consider what I said today and join those helping hands and help our town of Falmouth to be a special town.
Thank you, Elliot. Elliot's over at Atria Woodbriar. Thank you very much to all the people from Atria for helping to put you on. So,
did I come out on it? Good?
Yeah, it sounded beautiful.
All right.
Beautiful.
So I want to thank all of you, local and long distance, young and old, for joining us this year. I want you to stay safe. I want to thank you very much for taking the time to come up with original poems at a time we probably all needed them. And I want you all to remain healthy, safe, sane, and hopefully we'll all do this again together live and in person next year, okay? Thank you, everybody, and stay safe. Thanks for all you did, and thanks for all you continue to do.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark, ice cream and cake next year.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well done,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Well
and a very big thank you to Annie Hart-Cool for once again portraying our friend Katherine Lee Bates. So a round of applause for Annie.
Yes. Bravo.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Well done, all.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks for the visitors.
Night.
Ciao.